Hello everyone, welcome to the first lecture of Spring 2021 semester. As I mentioned in my introduction video, I will be recording 3 to 4 short videos to cover the contents of the 50-minute lecture. This will be the first short video for lecture 1. Let me get started by telling you what exactly the Data Science Programming 1 course is all about. As the name suggests, it is the science of data analysis. The world right now is swimming in an abundance of data. Data explosion is happening in many fields like journalism, biology, physical sciences, engineering, economics, and so on. Given that data explosion is occurring in various fields, the natural follow-up questions would be, what exactly can we do with that data? How can we gain meaningful insights from it? The solution is to leverage programming. Programming is a very powerful tool which enables you to find answers to specific questions about the data which you're currently analyzing. It can also enable you to generate meaningful visualizations in order to share your data analysis with other people. Let me give you examples of fields where data explosion is happening. The image on the top left is from a website called 538. If you're not familiar with 538, I would encourage you to go check it out. It is a new kind of journalism where the articles are associated with statistics and graphical based visualizations, which is very different from the historically anecdote based journalism. The next field which I want to talk about with respect to data explosion is the field of biology. The human brain is a very fascinating organ. You might be able to observe and record activities of the human brain. But in order to completely understand how exactly the thought process works, you need to be an expert in the field of biology. DNA is another example where you can find interesting human information. DNA is a lot of data which can be purchased for a relatively cheap price nowadays. Experiments in the physical sciences, for example, the Large Hadron Collider, are capable of generating millions of data points on a per second basis. Your analysis needs to be efficient enough to handle such large volumes of data. The last example that I want to provide is an engineering-based simulation. The image on the bottom right is a stress simulation of an aircraft. As you can see, parts of the aircraft are highlighted using the blue color and parts are highlighted using green color depending on the amount of stress. You don't have to essentially perform experiments in the physical world in order to generate interesting data sets for analysis. Programming enables you to leverage simulation which can save millions of dollars. How can we gain meaningful insights from all of this data explosion? The solution is computation. I'm going to introduce to you two different approaches to computation. The first one is called human computation. In the early days, before people had easy access to laptops, human beings used to play a role called as computers. Just like we have bankers or accountants or nurses or doctors, we used to have computers. So what exactly did these computers do? They used to follow algorithms in a step-by-step way and apply the steps in a meticulous manner to crunch numbers in order to be able to answer specific questions about the data. Approach number 2 is about machine-based computation. Nowadays, Machine-based compute is readily available for a very cheap price. You can access a lot of servers which are hosted in data centers. CS220 is obviously about approach 2, where we are counting on fast, reliable machine computation in order to be able to perform data analysis. As I mentioned before, automation is the key to save precious human time. Let me talk about a quote by Larry Page. Find the leverage in the world so you can be more lazy. If you don't know who Larry Page is, Larry Page was the founder of Google. I should say, is the founder of Google. My apologies. You might be very surprised to hear that Larry Page said such a sentence, correct? Larry Page might not be the one whom you might think of when it comes to advising people to be more lazy. The lazy here that is being referenced by Larry Page is not the traditional sense of lazy, but it is rather to leverage the computation that is available to the humankind in order to save our precious time for other activities. What exactly programming is all about? Programming is about being able to tell the computers what exactly to do and how to do it. Data science is not just about computer scientists doing a lot of data analysis. It is rather about domain experts bringing in their domain expertise along with their skill of programming in order to solve domain specific problems. The term that is being commonly used is bilingual. Bilingual is the capability to be able to speak two languages, the language of the domain of interest and the language of programming. When you combine domain expertise with the capabilities of programming, you get a really powerful person who can do a lot of data science. Let me tell you why exactly you need to pursue CS220 course. In a typical introduction to CS course, you might be introduced to a challenging language like C++ or Java. You will be doing that course along with other CS majors who might already be well versed in programming. The emphasis in typical CS courses is heavily on data and heavily on theory and very lightly on data. Let me talk about CS220 approach now. CS220 introduces you to Python programming language, which is very powerful but very easy for a beginner to learn. The emphasis will be heavily on data and very lightly on theory. We will be asking a lot of questions and communicating with the data in order to perform the data analysis. Let me give you more incentive for taking CS220 course. Here is a snapshot from Glassdoor which mentions the top 50 jobs in America for 2020. Data science is the top third sought after job title. You can get high salary jobs if you have the required data science skills. Let me wrap up my introduction further by giving you a couple of additional details. I'm very passionate about running and working out. The image on the bottom left here is from the doctoral derby run back from 2018, I believe, when both my husband and I ran that. The image on the bottom right is from one of my research projects. This visualization depicts the geolocation and the area covered by various cellular towers in the Manhattan area of the New York City. This project was all about correlating geographic location of cellular towers with mobile edge computing deployment. Just want to give a brief sense of what my research in internet measurements is about. Let me introduce my co-instructors. Andy, seen here, will be leading lecture 3. He will be doing live lectures. Alexi will be leading lecture 4. Andy is a faculty associate at the CS department, whereas Alexi is a graduate student at the CS department. Let me also introduce Tyler. You might see Tyler's name here and there in various places. Tyler was the main creator of the CS220 course. He's right now teaching the CS320 course, which is the direct follow-up course after CS220. Both CS220 and CS320 are required courses for the new data science major on campus. Let's see how we can introduce yourself to us as the co-instructors of this course. We have a Who Are You survey, which counts for communication 1% of the grade. The link to the survey can be found on the slide. I will be posting the slide deck on the course website. I will also be sharing the link to the Who Are You survey via Canvas announcement and email shortly. Why are we collecting data from the students of CS220 course? We would like to gauge the class interest and experience based on the data that we collect using the Who Are You survey. And we also study the course trends with the data for internal purposes for improving the CS220 course. Make sure that you're logged in to your WISC email account before you fill out the Who Are You survey. If you see an error saying that you need permission, it is likely that you're signed in via your personal Gmail account instead of the campus WISC email account. If you don't know this information, all of your WISC emails are associated with a Google account. So you'll be able to log into any of the Google platforms with your WISC email. Just in case if you're having trouble logging into your WISC email on your browser, I would recommend you to either clear the cookies or use an incognito window in the Chrome browser. That should definitely solve the problem and you should be able to fill out the Who Are You survey. Once again, I want to reiterate, the Who Are You survey counts for part of 1% communication grade for this course. So please go fill it out as soon as possible. I'll wrap up this video here. In the next video, I'll talk about course logistics.